which actually is reversed, but
okay, Peter.
okay.
Guess what, my friend?
All right.
We are live streaming. We are doing services. I see us on our Facebook page.
I need to shift my camera slightly. So I can stand back here.
Glad to be here in the DFC with everybody.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You just disappeared. Whoa.
Okay. I've got my Thomas on. We are here in the DFC.
A little light on me. Yehi or. How's this? Better.
All righty. So, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Rel. How did I do, Peter?
Oh, welcome to Adat Ariel.
Okay, yeah, you know what? I don't have it, man. You just do it better. You just do it better. What can I say? Okay, so listen, welcome everyone. Shabbat Shalom. It's a pleasure to be with all of you who are out there. For those of you who are aware, and for those of you who aren't, Shabbat Shuvah is known as the Reynolds Shabbat. Peter has had a long tradition, occasionally joined by his brother even, to do and lead services as part of Shabbat Shuvah. So Cantor Aronoff has got a morning off, and it's Peter Reynolds and myself. Peter, it is a pleasure to once again be able to share the beam with you on Shabbat Shuvah. And here we are in the DFC. Sort of, not really, but we're trying.
Amazing. Modern technology.
Modern technology. So we're going to begin on page 103 with the Birchot HaShachar, the morning blessings. Going to ask everyone to please rise. And Peter, take it away.
I just want to make sure we're actually on, because
Oh, we're on. I have us on Facebook.
Exercise here. My Facebook, it's not there.
I'm looking at my Facebook, and we have people. There we go. We have people making comments. We've got Susan and Herb and Judy. Judy, your daughter's on.
I see it now. Okay, we're good. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Here, my Facebook, it's not there. Turn off this background noise. All right, everyone. We are in this Siddur on page 103. And please join along. My windows are open. I can hear you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sechti bina, le'avchin ben yom u'ben layla.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzalmo.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorin.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, She'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzatei gaber.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa li kol tzarki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozer Yisrael b'gvura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten le'yahiv koha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, amavir shina me'anai, udnuma me'apapai, vayir ratzon lefanecha Adonai. ודנו היום ובכל יום מלכנו לחסד ולרחמים בעיניך, ובאנו קוראנו ותגמלנו חסדים טובים, ברוך אתה אדוני, גומל חסדים טובים לעמו ישראל.
A, be seated as we turn page 112 for the Psalm for today, the Psalm for Shabbat.
מזמור השיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, לזמר לשמך עליון. יגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור, כי שמחתנו. הודיענו בון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד, כי ישר אדוני צורי צורי ולא עוולת בו.
Continue now, page 113 with Psalm 27.
מזמור השיר חנוכת אבי לדוד, ארממך אדוני כי תלתני ולא שמחת ואלי, אדוני אלוהי.
That would be page 120 for Psalm 30.
הפכתי מספדי למחולי, פיתחת שקי ותזרני שמחה, למען יזמרך כבוד ולא ידום אדוני אלוהי לעולם עודך.
And Peter, before we do Mourner's Kaddish, we just have to jump back to page 113 for Psalm 27. You see that one?
אשרי יושבי ביתך יולוך סלע, אשרי המשכך לו, אשרי המשכנו אלוהיו.
Peter, stop. We're all out of sync here. So first we have to do page 113. Page 113, Psalm 27.
Sorry, I had a problem with my sound here.
Oh, so did you do it already? And I just not hear you? Sorry, folks, a little technical difficulty.
Let's try that again. Where are we at?
Did you do Psalm 27 and I just not hear it?
On which page?
113?
130?
13.
113?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, if we skip Psalm 27, I'm going to hear it from some people. I just want you to know.
Oh.
You know, you got to protect me here, man. People are very attached to this psalm during this time of year.
I'm sorry, I did not do it. We're still there. I thought the week before was the last time.
One more time.
So
One more
sorry.
time.
I need to find, I didn't mark that, so I just need to see where.
Page 113.
Yeah, I need to see where on page 113 I'm singing that popular melody.
How about I just do it?
Go for it. I'll join in.
Page 113. LeDavid Adonai orivi shinini ira Adonai ma'oz chaya mini echad v'karov alai mere'im melechol et basari.
Achat sha'ati met Adonai אותה אבקש, אחת שעתי מת אדוני אותה אבקש, שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחסות בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. לחסות בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. יתפנן בסוף אדוני רחל. לולא האמנתי לראות בטוב אדוני בארץ חיים, אקווה אל אדוני, חזק ויאמץ ליבך וקווה אל אדוני.
We now turn to page 121 for Mourner's Kaddish. I invite anyone who's currently reciting the Mourner's Kaddish, observing Yahrzeit, to please rise and join with me. Got to get the angle on this one right. Okay. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabba.
Amen.
V'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'bizman kari v'yimru. Amen. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitramam, Yitnaseh. Yitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shmei de Kudasha, Brichu. Le'ela, min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'yimru. Amen. Ye'esh lama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Asay shalom b'ramav, huya asay shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. We now turn to page 122. I ask everyone to please rise. Baruch She'amar.
Baruch She'amar v'haya olam. Baruch hu. Baruch oseh v'reshit. Baruch omer v'oseh. Baruch ozer umkayim, Baruch merachim al haaretz, Baruch merachim al habriot, Baruch mishalem zachar tov lirehav, Baruch chai lahad, v'kayam lanetzach, Baruch kodeh umatzil, Baruch
Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam melech harachamah hamulal b'fi amo. יחיד חי העולמי מלך משובח מפאר עד שמו הגדול. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מהולל בתשבחו.
All righty, now we may be seated, page 136, Ashrei.
אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יעללוך סלע. אשרי תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך הבשר שם קדשו לעולם ועד. כי אנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה.
We jump now to page 141 for Psalm 150.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah b'kadshom. Hallelujah b'rkiya uzo. Hallelujah b'gvorotav. Hallelujah kirov gudlo. Hallelujah b'teka shofar. Hallelujah b'nevel v'chinor. Hallelujah b'tofu machol. Hallelujah b'minim v'ugav. Hallelujah b'tziltzilei shamam. Hallelujah b'tziltzilei troa. Kol anshama hallelujah. Hallelujah. Kol anshama hallelujah. Hallelujah. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen v'amen. Baruch Adonai. Baruch Shem kvodo le'olam, v'yimale kvodo kol haaretz, amen v'amen.
We jump now to page 145, and we continue with Nishmat Kol Chai.
נשמת כל חי, תברך את שמך אדוני אלוהינו. רוח כל בשר. אלוהינו מלא שיר הקיים. אין אנחנו מספיקים להודות לך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו ואמותינו, ולברך את שמך לחת מאלף ואלפי אלפיים, פרי ברבות פעמים הטובות שעשית עם אבותינו ואמותינו ועמנו. ממצרים גאלתנו, אדוני אלוהינו, ואת הבתים בריתנו. האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון קונה שמיים וארץ. יעללך נשבחך ונפארך נברך את שם קודשך כאמור. לדוד ברכי נפשי את אדוני בכל קרבי את שם קדשו.
Rolling right along, page 147, 6 lines down. Shochenad Marom.
שכנד מרום וקדוש שמו, וכתוב רננו צדיקים באדוני, לישרים נאווה תהילה, לפי ישרים תתהלל, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יפאר שמך מתאים. על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים. ברכות והודעות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות. הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אלכי העולמים, יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם.
Amen.
ויעלמה דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ויומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. שמי רבא מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשא.
בריחו.
לילה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה, ואמרו Amen.
Rise now as we continue on page 149, bottom of that page, with the call to worship, the Barhu. This would be the place, if you're not standing, that you can stand. And by the way, this is one of those eastward prayers. So if you need to turn around and face east. Take it away, Peter.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הטוב.
May be seated as we continue page 150. Hakol yeducha v'akol yishevchucha v'akol yomru in kadosh kadonai.
אפס פרטך גואלנו לימות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו, לתחיית המתים. אל אדון על כל המעשים, ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה, גדלו וטובו מעלה עולם, דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו. המתקהל חיות הקודש ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה, זכותו מישור לפני כיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו. טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו, יצרם בדעת בבינה ובהשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה, נאה זיום בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים בהם רצון כהונם. תהיה בכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו. קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, רב והתקין צורת הלבנה. האל אשר שבת מכל המעשים ביום השביעי. יתברך מושיענו על שבח מעשה ידיך, יאמר אור שעשית יפרוך הסלע.
יתברך, top of page 150.
יתברך צורנו מלכנו וגואלנו בורא קדושים. ומברכים ומשבחים ומפארים ומריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול. בנחת רוח ושפה ברורה ובנימה קדושה כולם יחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך כל הארץ כבודו. והאופנים וחיות הקודש, ברעש גדול מתנסים ליום הצרפים, ליומתם משבחים, ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני, ממקומו לאל ברוך לימוד יתנו. אור חדשה ציון תהיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
Amen.
אהבה רבה אהבתנו אדוני אלוהינו.
Page 154 with the Shema following on page 155.
והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו. כי אלה פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, צלע באמת להודות לך, ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, והיה. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת ויציב ונכון וקיים. דור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים וחיסון נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת ודבריו חיים וקיימים. עודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך, עזרת אבותינו ואמתנו אתה ומעולם.
Page 157.
ממצרים גאלתנו אדוני אלוהינו מבית עבדים בריתנו. הזאת שבחו אהובים, שבחו אהובים, ורוממו 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 אל, ורוממו 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 אל, ונתנו ידידים, ונתנו ידידים, זמירות שירות ותשפחות, ברכות והודעות, למלך אל חי וקיים, רם ונישא, גדול ונורא, משפיל גאים, ומגביה שפלים, מוציא אסירים, ופודה ענבים, ועוזר דלים. ועונה לימו, ועונה לימו, תהיה שווה מאליו. תהילה לאל עליון ברוך ומבורך. משה ומרים ובני ישראל הכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו וימלכו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל ומה בעזרת ישראל, ובדי קינומך יהודה וישראל. גאלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
So the Amidah begins page 159. We join together through the Kedusha, after which the Amidah continues to the end of page 166. Just want to remind everyone, we are now in the Aseret Yemei Tshuva, in those 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So there's a whole bunch of little liturgical changes, a little bit of High Holiday Nusach that gets thrown in there. But fortunately, Peter's been doing this for a while. He knows exactly what he's doing, so we just follow his lead. An inspiring confidence there, Peter, inspiring confidence. All right, page 159. Oh, this is one of them eastward prayers as well.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imatenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Agadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Goel Livnei Bneim, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכתבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים החיים. מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים מתים אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מקיים מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומקיים, ומצמיח ישוע, מי כמוך. אהבה רחמים, זוכר יצוריו, לחיים ברחמים, ונאמנתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וכרזל זה ויאמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנשאים ליום הצרפים, ויומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, וקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראינה מלכותך, הדבר האמור בשיר עוזך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גדלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש. sim, 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 shalom tova uvracha ba'olam chen, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Yisrael amecha. Barchenu Avinu kulanu kiechad V'yor panecha V'yor panecha V'yor panecha Natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Torat Chaim V'ahavat Be'ahavat Hesed U'Tzedaka U'Beracha Berachamim V'Chaim V'Shalom V'Tov B'Einecha Levarech et Amecha Yisrael B'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה ניזכר וניכתב לפניך אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועלמא דברה חירותי וימלך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחי לכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה לשמירה קודשה בריחו לילה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תתקבע צלותנו ובטחנו כל בית ישראל קודמה והומתי וישמעיה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרב אמין שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
Sorry, I had muted myself because our dogs were barking. And of course, now that I've unmuted myself, our dogs are now barking. Anywho, so Yeshikov, Peter, thank you so much for leading us through Shachrit. So we're going to do our little bit of Bimkom Torah service. We'll say our blessing for Torah study. I prepared a little bit of Torah reading, tying it to a little bit of the Haftarah. And so we'll just do a little bit of learning. We'll conclude that with Kaddish de Rabbanan, which will be an opportunity if anyone wishes to recite Mourner's Kaddish to join in to do so, or any mourners to join in to recite an extra Kaddish if they wish. And then after that, and after we conclude with Ashrei and whatever other song Peter wants us to conclude with. No, Susan, no hooray for barking dogs. Don't encourage them. Then we will go with our Darshan, Adam Goldman, who is here with us, who's joined us in our Zoom room. And so he's ready to deliver his drash, and we'll do that after we've done Ashrei and are ready just before Musaf to begin that part of the service. So with that having been said, we're going to join together in the blessing for Torah study. I invite you to join with me if you wish. Also, I often like to offer up kavanot or dedicate my Torah learning to someone, something, to something that's on my mind. And this past week, I've been dedicating my Torah study to Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was lying in state up until just yesterday, I believe. Just an amazing woman, an amazing fighter for justice, for those who did not have voice, and also just an incredible person who was able to maintain friendships with her colleagues across the ideological spectrum and with just a range of different people, and just sounds like she was just an absolutely wonderful human being. So my Torah study today is dedicated to her. If you wish to dedicate to anyone else or anything else, please feel free to do so either in your hearts, or if you want to do so in the comments, I invite you to do so. The blessing for Torah study. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. You are God, the source of all life, and we're grateful for opportunities to come together because of that flow of life, to learn, to grow, and to do human better. Amen. All righty, so the Torah reading for today for Shabbat Shuvah comes from Ha'azinu. This is the Torah portion for this Shabbat, and comes at the very end of the Torah. It's actually really the last Torah reading that we do per se, because then the other two Torah readings are sort of swept up in the festivals of Simchas Torah and of concluding the Torah reading. So in Ha'azinu comes chapter 32 in the book of Deuteronomy, and it is, it's Moses's song, it's Moses's poem. It is this amazing and powerful attempt to convey to the Israelites the consequences for their actions, for their upcoming actions, for the anticipated breaking of the covenant. And a lot of the Torah reading contrasts God's faithfulness to the covenant versus Israel's lack of faith in terms of upholding the covenant. So that is the primary thrust of the Torah reading. I'm going to do a little bit of the Torah reading here in Hebrew and with the trope, and then we're going to jump to the Haftarah and look at one of the ways in which the Haftarah is connected to the Torah portion. Now, generally, the Haftarot for these past 11 weeks have not been directly connected to the Torah reading, starting with Tisha B'Av, but really Shvatzrei B'Tammuz, the 17th of Tammuz. We've had a series of special Haftarot, this being the last one, that have been exploring themes of redemption and renewal and forgiveness, very appropriate themes for the time. So even though the Haftarah is not directly and specifically chosen because of this Torah portion, as it happens, there's an interesting link between the two that asks an interesting question that I'll be sharing with you. So for the Torah reading, and this is, I'm just reading the verses from the first verses of the Torah portion in chapter 32. Ha'azinu hashamayim v'adabera v'tishma haaretz imrei fihi yarov kamatar liki tizal katal imratim kisirim alei deshe v'chiridim alei esev ki Shem Adonai ekra havu godel leloheinu hatzur tamim pa'olo ki chol derachav mishpat Elemuna ve'navel tzadik ve'yashar hu. So here's what the Torah reading here says. Give ear, O heavens, let me speak. Let the earth hear the words I utter. May my discourse come down as the rain, my speech distill as the dew, like showers on young growth, like droplets on the grass. For the name of the Lord I proclaim, give glory to our God, the rock, Hatzur, Tamim Folo. His deeds, his works are perfect. Yes, all his ways are just. A faithful God, never false, true and upright is our God. So in the beginning of this Haftarah, we see Moses very famously calling on the heavens and earth to hear, to give witness. And he talks about God, Sur B'Polo, Sur, perfect in his works, the rock whose deeds are perfect, right? And in between, it talks about, and he describes the nature of his speech. right? Let his discourse come down as rain, his speech distill as dew, like showers on young growth. The idea here being that the dew is something that helps revive. The dew helps people grow. It helps the grass grow. It is just the right kind of thing at just the right time. It's not pouring down so that it wipes out the grass and everything that's there, right? It's dew. It falls gently and it brings forth. So picking up on the dew, I just want to point out that if we look now on page 1235, if you happen to have an Eitz Chaim Chumash, or chapter 14 in the book of Hosea, which is where we find the Haftarah for this morning. Shuvah Yisrael ad Adonai Elohecha. Return, O Israel, to the Lord your God, for you have fallen because of your sin. Take words with you and return to the Lord. Say to him, forgive all guilt and accept what is good. Instead of bulls, we'll pay the offering of our lips. Assyria shall not save us. No more will we ride on steeds, nor ever again will we call our handiwork our God. Since in you alone, orphans find pity. Right? So here we are at the point in time where Israel has already sinned. That lack of faith, that breaking of the covenant that's spoken of in the Torah reading, by the time of Hosea's time, it's come to fruition. It's become real. And so Shuvah Yisrael, return, O Israel. And then it goes on, it says, God, this is the prophet speaking for God. I will heal their affliction. Generously will I take them back in love. For my anger has turned away from them. I will be to Israel like tal, like dew. He shall blossom like the lily. He shall strike root like a tree in Lebanon. His boughs shall spread out afar. His beauty shall be like the olive trees, his fragrance like that of Lebanon. Those who sit in his shade shall be revived. They shall bring to life new grain. They shall blossom like the vine. His scent shall be like the wine of Lebanon. So here in the Haftarah, it's talking about Israel and the call to return, Shuvah Yisrael. And when they return, the way that it's described, the experience of return shall be like, right? Israel, I will be, God is saying, I will be like Israel, katal, like the dew. Just as Moses uses the metaphor of dew to say, let his speech come down and be like dew, so too here, the prophet using God's words is comparing God to dew as well. I will be like the dew. I will revive them. They will blossom. They will bring forth fragrance. They will have grain. They will have corn. They will have what they need. So here we see, both in the Torah portion and in the Haftarah, tapping into dew and the metaphor of dew. And in each case, whether it's Moses's words should fall like dew, or whether it's God who will be like dew, we see Israel, or we see the metaphor of dew being used as a way of describing this sense of being refreshed, renewed, enlivened once again. So here's the question that I think the combination of these two things asks us to consider. When we come to this period of time, and we come to it with an open heart and with integrity and authenticity, and we look to change, we look to improve, we look to be able to, after a long year, and particularly a long 6 months, to think about how it is that we can once again bring that sense of vitality to our own living. Here in the Haftarah and in the Torah portion, it's clear that as much as we bring, we also need and are impacted by our environment, by the things around us, right? Moses' words serve as dew to help the Israelites. God serves as dew to help Israel once again come back. So here's my question. What is your dew? What is the thing outside of your own intention, outside of your own integrity? What is the thing that is outside of you that you think you need to have around you that will serve as dew for you? You know, around this time of year, we pay a lot of attention to what's going on within our own souls. However, as I said, the environment around us, our surroundings, are vital towards our being able to become deeper, more compassionate, and more mindful human beings. So what is your due? What is the thing that you're going to bring into your environment, into your surroundings this year that's going to serve the same role that it serves ideally here in the Torah portion in the Haftarah? That is the question, I believe, that when we put these two together, that they ask us to consider. Okay, so, and I leave it at that, by the way. If people, by the way, want to share what they think their version of do is for them, I invite people to share that in the comments. Otherwise, it is just a question to reflect upon as we prepare for Yom Kippur. Now, having concluded this, I'm just going to run over there and get my Siddur so that we will conclude with Kaddish D'Rabbanan. After which point in time, we're going to say a Misha Berach for all who are ill. We'll offer up a prayer for our country. We will do Ashrei, and then I will invite Adam Goldman to come on in and be our darshan for this morning. So hold on a quick sec. Okay. So Kaddish D'Rabbanan, I do not know where it is found, as I don't think I've ever actually even looked for it I've never even looked for it in that Siddur, but in our regular day Siddur, it is on page 13. And if you wish, you may join with me or just say Amen. And as I said, if mourners wish to join us, that's fine as well. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam lo me'almaya. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitramam, Yitnaseh, Yitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shmei, Dekudasha, Brichu, Le'ela, Mikol, Berchata, V'shirata, Tushbachata, V'nechmata, D'amiran, V'alma, V'imru. Amen. Al Yisrael, Val Rabbanon, Val Tamidechon, Val Kol Tamidechon, Val Kol Mandos, Gimba, Raita, Diva Trahaden, V'diva Chol Atar, V'atar. Yehei lechon lechon shlama rabba, china v'chista v'rachamin, v'chayin arichin v'zana revicha for kanam and kadam avahon v'mishmaya v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayin tovim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, huya asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. All right, hey. Let's put this aside for a moment. We will now, as I said, offer up a prayer for healing, a Misha Berach for all who are ill. I have names that have been sent to us, but I also want to invite people, if there's a name of someone who, even if you've sent it to us, but you want to have that personal connection of saying it, if you will, yourself, and you want to put it in the comments, that's fine. If there's a name that you haven't had a chance to send and you want to put it in the comments, you want to send out some healing love to someone, I invite you to do so at this time. Misha Berach Avatenu, Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, Sarah Ve'imatenu, Sarah Rivka, Rachel V'Leah, Hu Yivarech V'Repeh Tacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abram, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to Tamar bat Miriam, Ethel bat Chana, Chaim Shmuel ben Miriam, Shlomo Eliyahu Halevi ben Bluma, Be'er Dov Halevi ben Bluma, Zuchai Reuven Halevi ben Shoshana, Yenta bat Rachel Chava Devora, Rachel Leah bat Freil Chaya, Sarah Devora Bracha bat Zipporah, Rachel Chia bat Rachel, Rita Hope Munson, Uri ben Fisher Lubatya, Leah bat Golda, Julie Gordon, Zisel ben Goldie, Chanuk ben Celia, Lois Kaplan, Leah bat Basha, Eliyahu ben Golda, Malka bat Miriam, David Cohn, Ruth Smuckler Finkenthal, Saul Halpern, Yael Tzipor bat Chazan Yehudit Dina, Yitzhak Ado Yagada, Mordechai Moshe ben David Verut, Avram Moshe ben Avram Moshe ben Devorah, Dina bat Chaim, and Beryl ben Moshe v'Shoshana. May the Holy One mercifully restore all those that we've mentioned this morning to health and to vigor, and grant them spiritual and physical and emotional well-being, together with all others who are ill. And may God grant strength to those who tend to them. And let us all say, Amen. We now offer up a prayer for our country. Our God and God of our ancestors, grant to our country the will and wherewithal to fulfill its call to justice, to liberty, and to equality. May each of us fulfill our responsibilities of citizenship with care and generosity and gratitude, ever conscious of the extraordinary blessings of freedom and ever mindful of our own duties to one another, to our fellow citizens. Bless those who volunteer to labor on behalf of all of us. May they find the strength and courage to complete their tasks and fulfill their dreams. May our judges, elected leaders, and all who hold public office exercise their responsibilities with wisdom, fairness, and with justice for all. Fill them with love and kindness, and bless them that they may walk with integrity on paths of peace and righteousness. Creator and protector of all, watch over our armed forces and all those entrusted with our safety as they daily put their lives at risk to protect us and our freedoms. Be with them in times of danger. Give them courage to act with honor and dignity, as well as insight to do what is right in your eyes. Fill us all with gifts of love and courage, that we may create a world that reflects your glory. May we each respond to the charge of your prophet. For what does God demand of you, but to act justly, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God? May the one who brings peace on high bring peace and prosperity to our world and keep us in safety. And let us all say, Amen. We now turn to page 181. And I'm kind of hoping that Peter's going to come back on screen. Peter, and there's Peter. So Peter's going to lead us in the Ashrei, and then I am going to give a brief intro, and hopefully Adam Goldman will turn on his camera and he will be there, and then he will be our Darshan. Peter, take it away, page 181, Ashrei.
Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, od yalalucha sela.
Ashrei am shekacha lo, Ashrei Shadonai Elohav.
Tila leDavid, arom mimcha Elohai HaMelech, avarcha shimcha leolam va'ed.
Bechol yom avacheka, v'ala shimcha le'olam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai u'melal me'od, v'ligdolato en cheker.
So we're doing this, okay. Dor le'dor yishbach ma'asecha, gruatecha yagidu.
Adar kevododecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha.
Bezuz noetecha yomeru gulatcha saprena.
Zecher abtucha yabiu, v'tzikatcha yiranenu.
Chanun racham Adonai, erech apayim ugdal chesed.
Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav.
Yaduch Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yivarchucha.
Kevod malchutcha yomeru, u'gvuratcha yedaberu.
L'hodia livnei adam gvotah, v'kvod adar malchuto.
Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor.
Somecha Adonai l'chol noflim, zokef l'chol hakfufim.
Einecho le'lecha yasaberu, כי אתה נותן להם מרחלם בעיתו.
Moteach et yedecha, u'masbir l'chol tzai ratzon.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
Karov Adonai l'chol korav, l'chol asher yikru v'emet.
ורצון יראיו יעשה, ויד שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
Shomer Adonai et kol avav, v'et kol rishim yashmid.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פיhi, ויברך בשר שם קדשו לעולם ועד, ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah.
We started that. I didn't think we were actually going to do that. All right, Yeshakah, Peter, Yeshakah. So My friends, it is a pleasure now to be able to welcome Adam Goldman, who's going to be our darshan. So in a moment, I'm going to click off on all of our screens just so you get to see Adam's beautiful panim. Listen, I've been fortunate to know Adam and his family now for many years, and he's both just a great family, having to really love all of them. But Adam as well is just a really kind, gracious, and generous human being. His very intense, very sincere, and very passionate and committed, and very insightful, as I've had opportunities to learn with him before and to speak with him, and hear him speak. So it is a pleasure to be able to share the fake bima, if you will, from the DFC with Adam at this time. Adam, Shabbat Shalom, and take it away. Adam? Adam, can you hear me? Okay, so you have to unmute yourself.
How about now?
We can hear you now.
Thank you. There we go.
All right.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Pleasure to be able to share this time with you. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you for that kind introduction, and Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So I want to open with a quote from the recent movie, Jojo Rabbit. I know for some people, a funny movie about Nazis was difficult, but I really found it quite moving. Elsa, the 19-year-old Jewish girl hiding behind the walls, has a fight with the 10-year-old Jojo about what Jews are. Jojo's views have been shaped by his time in Hitler Youth, and he insults her and her family. She grabs him and yells, "I am descended from those who wrestle angels and kill giants. We were chosen by God." And it was that sort of forceful words and her forceful memory that got me to think about Hazinu. And if you think of Hazinu, as Rabbi said, Hazinu is the last Torah portion read on Shabbat, and it makes the most of that position. In last week's Parsha Vayelech, God tells Moses to relay a few words to the children of Israel. God says, "I know they'll forsake me, break the covenant, grow lazy, and turn to other gods." So they need these words. Moses says, "Okay," and then he gathers all the people, and that is where Vayelech ends. It's got a very to be continued sort of vibe to it. So you tune in this week, and Moses, really almost word for word from Vayelech, relays those words to the Israelites as a very dire poem, now known as the Song of Moses. Bnei Yisrael are waiting to cross the Jordan River and enter the Holy Land, but first Moses, once a reluctant speaker, reminds them how great God is and how much they aren't. And interestingly, this is only the second epic poem in the Torah. The other is in Exodus. Remember, in Parsha Bashalach, we read the Song of the Sea, Shirat Hayam, and they have some similarities. Both are presented in an alternative layout in the Torah. Song of the Sea is presented in that sort of staggered brick-like layout, whereas the Song of Moses is presented in two columns. Both also are tied to the crossing of a body of water. Song of the Sea after the Israelites crossed the sea to escape the Egyptian army, and the Song of Moses as the Israelites are about to cross the Jordan River. And the last thing is what I found most interesting is that both are considered so important that they both are or were part of regular services. The Song of the Sea is now part of daily Shacharit. And I was fascinated to learn, as written partly by Rambam, was at some point as well. So Rambam, writing in the late 1100s, mentions the custom of the Song of Moses being part of daily prayers in some places, writing, "In some places, it is customary to read the Song of the Sea daily after the blessing Yishtabach, then the blessing of the Shema. And in some places, Ha'azinu is read. And there are even some individuals who read both songs, all according to the custom." While there has been some scholarly debate about whether he was correct, and some of the ongoing rabbis weren't sure if he was, but it's certainly as late as 1750, there's a book called the Sefer Orchot Chaim that was published in Italy in 1750, and it had actually been written back in the 1300s. But that also makes reference to what's called the Ma'amadot service, a collection of verses from the Tanakh, the Mishnah, and the Talmud that were to be recited each day of the week. And it includes a reference to Ha'azinu as part of that Ma'amadot service. So while the custom isn't part of modern Judaism, it is, I think, well supported that it was common in some early Jewish communities. Ha'azinu, even like Song of Sea, is considered that important. Also, Ha'azinu was interesting, for me at least, because as the last Shabbat Parsha, I think it reads much more like a Haftorah than a Torah portion. And it almost acts as if it was the Haftorah for the entire Torah. Because Moses sounds much more like a prophet in exile than he does the regular leader that he has been. And if you read it, it's got that exilic sound that you hear from some of the prophets. In fact, there's some scholars who study the composition of the Torah who believe that Ha'azinu was actually added perhaps centuries later during the Babylonian exile or during the return from exile under the Persian King Cyrus. But as this poem also marks the culmination of the Exodus, which you think could be a joyful thing, it's really quite dark. Moses tells them that they are a crooked and perverse generation and a dull and witless people. And later, speaking for God, he says, I will make my arrows drunk with blood as my sword devours flesh. And I think this very pointed text is part of why it isn't as well known as the Song of the Sea. Other writings which are added to the regular prayers are uplifting and full of praise to God. And this isn't that. And really at the end of Ten Commandments, can you picture Moses or Charlton Heston delivering these lines just as the people are walking in? You stink, you're no good. And really, words. Zeno is the final appeal to people to stay true and remember everything they've been through. In their 40-year journey, they have traveled from city to city, meeting new cultures, and even abandoning God altogether, as in the story of the golden calf. And now as the Israelites are about to cross over, Moses knows what these people are like. This is his grand finale, imploring the Hebrew people to hold on to these words and to become a people of this teaching, of this Torah. I've read it, Moses also is about to separate from the people he has led for 40 years. His children of Israel, and they still are, at the very end, they are Livnei Israel. So if these are children, then God is like a parent. And the text makes references that are both paternal and maternal. God is the father, and also one who fed by suckling. And for verse 18, I found a translation that said, you forgot the God who labored to bring you forth. And a parent's job is to prepare their children to take care of themselves. If the Israelites are children, then this is them finally leaving the house. God and Moses make clear that they are not the Israelites' friends. And as a parent myself, and also as someone who has parents, I know that kids can screw up. But when they do, parents still love them. Anger, disappointment, and hard lessons do not mean desertion. And when a child first gets a driver's license, do you flip the keys over and just go, have fun? No. You remind them what a big responsibility it is and how the insurance industry expects you to have an accident and how expensive it is. And your kid rolls his eyes at you and goes, all right, I get it. I'm not an idiot. And then you're like, I didn't say you were an idiot. I'm just trying to talk about your reality. Do you want me to take those keys away? Because I will. Anyway, Moses, then at the end, like a good parent, gets a chance to sort of soften God's words at the end when he makes his own kinder appeal. And join them upon your children, that they may observe faithfully all the terms of this teaching. Through it you shall long endure on the land that you are to possess upon crossing the Jordan. Lays out this final commitment of the teaching from generation to generation. And remember what God did for us is the very thing that maintains this connection to this land and will all be laid out in this Torah. And in returning to Rambam's notes about the daily recitation of Hazinu, it was then, even in the diaspora, you read it and you're saying to yourself that you have not forgotten where you came from. This search for God and the act of remembering becomes the job of modern Judaism. A religion that bases itself on remembering and teaching your children is a religion that can expand and travel. Judaism moved on to prophetic leadership and rabbinical ingenuity, but Ha'azinu stresses the individual will carry that primary responsibility. God tells Moses to go to Mount Nebo to view the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. And if the land is given to the children of Israel, then it is those children of Israel who carry the responsibility to remember. The Parsha closes with God reminding Moses that he is not allowed to enter Canaan with the people because he struck the rock for water rather than speaking to the rock as God instructed him. God is to go to Mount Nebo and watch the people cross and then to die there. For me, that reminder from earlier serves as proof to what Moses has told the people. Moses transgressed. He forgot the power of God and he lost his entrance into the land. And now Moses is telling the children of Israel not to forget both where they came from and their connection to this one God, perhaps to avoid a similar penalty. In Ha'azinu, Moses is imploring the people to remember all these things and say it to a group that is about to start a new nation. And it's dark talk. It isn't children's talk. It isn't Hebrew school talk. These are real adult decisions about how this group, this nation, this people is going to maintain its existence. And what the stake isn't that God will destroy the world, but that the land will become vulnerable and be conquered, and that God will be forgotten, and that God's countenance will turn away. But what if God's countenance is the Torah, the entire Torah, and every other teaching, and every other teacher, and every other parent who's been now tasked with being a teacher? And we have those. You can list them all. You get the Talmud and Pirkei Avot, and then Rambam, and even Ramban, Shammai, Hillel, Heschel, Tolushkin, Bernhardt, Yarkin, Aronoff, Goldman. What if the poetic license of the Ha'azinu takes the abandonment of Torah and the forgetting of the history to be God's turning away? In that respect, we are the ones turning away. We are forcing God to be turned away. In reality, God's countenance is always there. It's bound up in a scroll, or on a bookshelf, or nailed to your doorpost to be read and taught and studied. Where you can learn how we wrestle angels, we children, and we were chosen by God. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koch, Adam. Great, Josh. Thank you so much. Thank you. Just a great exploration of those themes and the dynamic between God and the Israelites. Yasher Koch. And I also want to congratulate you on the loudest Yasher Koch we've heard so far as we've been live streaming services. So well done to you and to all the family that are there. So well done, Nicole and Lily. Who else is there? Don't see anyone else. Anyway, so Yasher Koch, everyone. Yasher Koch, Adam. Thank you so much for those words. And we will now continue. We continue on page 184, the bottom of the page with the Chatzi Kaddish before the Musaf Amidah.
V'yetkadosh Shemei Rabba, Amen. V'yalma divrachirote v'yamlich malchute v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael ha'agala u'vizman kariv v'himru 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 Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach le'alam u'le'almei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitahadar v'yitale v'yitahalal Shemei 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 dekudesha barichu leila leila mikol ברחתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, ואמירן בעלמה, ואמרו 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 ואמרו, ואמרו אמן.
We turn now to page 185 as we join together for the opening blessings for the Musaf Amidah. Once again, just want to remind everyone, since it is Shabbat Shuvah, that we have all of those fun little additions there. The Amidah concludes on page 192. Peter, take it away.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Eloi Avotenu v'Imateinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Agadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imachot, U'mevii Goel, Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo V'Ahava. Zocherenu L'chaim, Melech Hafetz B'chaim, V'chatevenu B'sefer HaChaim, Lemancha Elohim Chaim, Melech Ozer, Ufoked Moshiach Umagin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham Ufoked Sarah. Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayim etim ata Rav L'Hoshia. Mekalkel Lechayim Chesed, Mechayim etim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emunato L'Shenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gvorot, Umidom Elach, Melech Mehemit Umechayeh, Umatzmeach Yeshua, Michamocha Avarachamim, Zocher Yetzorav, Lechaim Barachamim, V'nemanata, Leachayot Meitim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei Hametim. Naharitcha, V'nakdishcha, Yesod Siach, Tzarfei Kodesh, Amakdishim Shimcha B'Kodesh, Katuv al Yad Nevi'echa, V'karazel Ze, Ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melok kol haaretz kevodo, Kvodo malei olam, Nisharta v'sholim zeh lazeh, Aye mekom kvodo, Le'umatam baruch yomeru, Baruch kvod Adonai, Mimekomo hu yifen, Berachamim, Yachonam, Am Yachadim Shemo, Erev, Bavoker, Bechol Yom Tamid, Pamayim, Pamayim, Be'ahava, Shema Omrim, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית, לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיגד לך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, המלך הקדוש. שים שלום טובה וברכה, תן וחסד ברחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ישראל עמך. ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד, באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, תורת חיים ואהבת חסד, ואהבת חסד, וצדקה וברכה, ורחמים בחיים, בחיים ושלום, וטוב בעיניך. לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך, בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה. ניזכר וניכתב לפניך, אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים, לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
אמן.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ילמד דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו.
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה לשמי קודשה.
Richu.
לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו.
Amen.
תתקבל צלותון ובותון לכל בית ישראל קודם אבוהון דבי שמעיה ואמרו.
Amen.
יהי שלמה רבה מן שמעיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו.
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו.
Amen. We continue now on page 204 with Ein Kelohenu.
עינק אלוהינו, עינק אדוננו, עינק מלכנו, עינק מושיענו, מיך אלוהינו, מיך אדוננו, מיך מלכנו, מיך מושיענו. נודה לאלוהינו, נודה לאדוננו, נודה למלכנו, נודה למושיענו. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshiachenu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshiachenu.
We rise, page 205, Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה, ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגהור עלינו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו, אינו דמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך. כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אינו. דלקים לכוונך אדוני אלוהינו. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You all may be seated, but I invite anyone who's currently reciting the Mourner's Kaddish to please rise as we turn now to page 207 for these words of remembrance, these words of sanctification, Kaddish Yatam. Yitzgadal, excuse me. Sorry about that. Page 207. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabba, ve'alma divrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dachol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mavarach Leolam Olomei Almaya. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitramam, Yitmaseh. Yitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shmei de Kudisha, Brichu. Le'ela, Le'ela, Mikol, Birchata, Vishirata. Tush Bachata, Venechamata, Da'amiran, Be'alma, V'yimru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, L'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru. Amen. Osei Shalom B'Romav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru. Amen. All righty. So, my friends, we're going to conclude our services this morning, first with whatever song Peter wants to conclude with, and then we'll do a little bit of Kiddush. But before we do any of that, just a few words of acknowledgement. First, I want to acknowledge our Darshan, Adam Goldman. Adam Yasher Koach really thought it was a great drosh, and just a great tying together of the Torah portion, bringing it into this time of year, really just terrific. And to Nicole, to Jonah, to Lily, and whoever else there was your cheering section, Shabbat Shalom to all of them as well. Also want to say Shabbat Shalom and thank you to Peter Reynolds, my cohort and my partner in crime here. Peter, thank you so much. It's you know, this is my last Shabbat Shuvah, and I've really, one of the elements of the high holidays that has always been really kind of like just an enjoyable kind of like little like part of the high holidays is here we are in the middle of all of this between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we get to daven together and share the bima together. So I generally don't do screensavers or backgrounds because I always find that glitchy thing a little annoying, but for you, for the DFC, for the picture, I had to do it. Because that's just so my association with Shabbat Shuvah. So Peter, thank you so much. Really appreciate your leading us in services this morning and the many years that you have been doing this. Also just want to, by way of announcements, let's see what's coming up. Yom Kippur, yeah, that's it. Yom Kippur starting tomorrow night with our services in Kol Nidre, 6:15. And also Yom Kippur the following day on Monday. And also just want to remind people that following Yom Kippur, we still have services going on next Shabbat. Next Shabbat at 9:30, and at that point in time, we'll be in Sukkot mode. So hopefully you'll be able to join us. And also I just want to point out how amazing the timing is in terms of Sukkot and building a sukkah and eating outside, because that's where we are right now. We're into outdoor dining at this moment in time. And so Sukkot is a perfect holiday to be able to build a sukkah and have some outdoor dining and have some people over 6 feet, all that social distancing stuff and wearing masks and all that good stuff as well. So anything else, Peter, that we'd like to announce?
Said it. Really looking forward to more beautiful services during Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah. Really, it was just remarkable. The community could enjoy the services with you and Rabbi Yarkin, Cantor Judy. It was just really wonderful. We look forward to a very meaningful Yom Kippur together as a community. Similarly, and to everyone in the community, Gemar Tov. May it be an easy fast, a very meaningful, good Yom Kippur. And look forward to seeing all of you back at Adat Ariel as soon as possible, but certainly for the Chagim next year. Rabbi, you're always welcome. If we must do Shabbat Shuvah like this, you could always be in the DFC. So
here we go.
I will find you.
All righty. Okay, so Peter, are you concluding with Adon Olam?
I will conclude with Adon Olam.
You know,
I don't know about everyone else, but you're welcome to join me.
All righty. So page 211, Adon Olam. Take it away, Peter.
Adon Olam asher malach eterem kol yitzir nivra liyed nasa becheftzot kol azay melech shemoni kara v'yachare yichlot hakol לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני. להמשלו, להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי. וצור חבלי ביצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום מקרה, בידו אף כדרוכי. ויתשן ויעירה, ואמרוכי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא.
ישכח. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת בקדשךו. חבריי, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. Just I want you to all know, I went to the synagogue's kitchen just to get that Kedem grape juice for today.
It doesn't show up, it's blue.
Wanted to make sure I was using the real stuff. And the real stuff can only come from our kitchen, from our refrigerator, and it has to have been sitting there for at least 4 or 5 years. Peter, that is a beautiful challah.
I aim to please.
All right, my friends, it has been a pleasure for us to be able to share this morning with you. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, thank you for the people who participated, Peter and Adam, in terms of making our services possible. Be well, everyone. Have a good rest of Shabbos. I wish everyone a meaningful and reflective fast, and Gemar Tov, Shabbat Shalom, everyone.